Hey everyone, this is Robin. I just want to make sure that in case you had some questions regarding this needs analysis assignment, that I respond to it. So remember what we said in class, you could use other needs analysis templates, but the one we use at work is this Donald Clark version, which looks like it's a lot, but in reality not so much. So let me go through it real quick for you to be able to respond to it if you want to use this. So I know it's about 27 pages, but guess what? It's actually not. So remember, if you have pages in this needs assessment template that you are not using, ignore it, delete it, ignore it and delete it, and then move on to the next one. An example is this page, so get rid of this, and then you move on to the next one. The business outcome would be your learning objectives. So at least for the purposes of what we need to do, what are the 2 learning objectives of your session? So you know how to write those. Make sure you use blooms. Do not use words like understand or learn. Use verbs that are from Bloom's taxonomy, and you have a copy of that. So those are just 2 sentences. Then you move on to the next one. So you can just combine them in one page because you only have 2 sentences there, not have multiple pages. Alrighty, so system overview would just be your logistics. So for purposes of our document, you'll say here logistics. I would need paper, I need scissors, I need glue, I need any of those things. So the ones that you had in your lesson plan, copy that, stick it in here. That becomes the system part. It's like logistical requirements. So that's like a couple of sentences there. For the job list, essentially it's one line. What is the job? So if it's makeup, it'll be to put on makeup or be an expert in makeup, eyelashes or cheeks or whatever, or putting lipstick. Okay, so that's just the one line of the job of that person. Again, each of these pages have examples in it, so ignore the examples. Again, delete that because that's just, if you're actually doing this in real life, that's what you're going to be adding there properly. Now for the job description, again, the job list a while ago was just a list of things they'll be doing that is specific to the session that you are going to be presenting. So although their job would be a lot of other things, it's only you focus on the things that you're going to work on at the session. For the job description, identify what that actually is. So for example, if you'll say in the job list, this will be a makeup artist, then identify what is a makeup artist. It'll just be one sentence on what that job description would look like. Again, there's an example there, so we're ignoring that. What is the task? To put on makeup, to put on eyeliner, to put on eyelashes, things like that. So those are the tasks that you would have identified in your lesson plan that you'll be doing, and then you put it here. Okay, so task survey. What kind of an expert are they, or how critical is that work? It's literally one entry. So if 90% of their job at a makeup booth at Nordstrom is to put makeup on other people, then the frequency would be a 4. That's critical to their job. That's it. So don't add to it. It's not really that necessary. Now so as you can see, we probably just filled in one page right now, and we're already on page 15 on this template. So don't worry about it. You probably will just have a 1 or 2 page document that you're submitting for this week, and that's okay. All right, so don't freak out. All right, for the employee survey, I would just add here the name of the person that you're actually interviewing and where that person falls, where they are, which department they're at, and how long they've been there. You don't have to do all the little schooling and all those questions. That is more geared towards a more extensive needs assessment activity that we don't need for your assignment. So for your purposes, just make sure you put in the name of the person, the name of the location where they work out, what is their kind of official job, how long they've been there, and then you're good to go. And make sure that they consent to you, the consent form, that they actually fill that in. Okay. So what other questions would you like to ask? Look at the questions here. If you think that the questions here actually link to what they need to respond to for you, because they're trying to teach you how to do the session that you are going to be presenting, then add those questions. Okay, so add your own questions here if you want. Ignore the supervisor one. We don't need that for the purposes of our assignment. And the actual task selection instrument, because you've already identified the tasks before, the only thing that is really important on this one is this number 3, which is the risk and benefit. Essentially, is there a risk to doing this? I would imagine nothing, but if you think there's a risk, for example, if you'll say, I'm gonna my session is about makeup, but then the makeup may be impacted with other people's skin reactions. So therefore, to mitigate that, I will be using a paper version and some markers, and people would use that instead, or watercolor, or I have a mannequin, or whatever, right? So that's how you mitigate that risk. And then the benefit to it, of course, is for them to learn a new skill, whatever that would be. Okay, and that's it. The rest of them, ignore them for now. I wouldn't be worried about that. So we're moving on. Again, that's just an example filled in. And people and data, this is essentially the person that you're interviewing. I wouldn't add to this at this point. So you can pretty much ignore that one. And then the performance measure. How do you know that your students are actually successful? What is your evaluation of that? Is it just your own looking at if people are doing what you've thought that they should be doing, and if they follow your handout properly, that's okay? Or is it something else? Is there a check that you want to use? Would you have like questions where they raise their hands if they can answer it properly? So you make a decision on how you're measuring the task that they'll be doing to ensure that they actually have been able to be successful in learning what you have taught them. Okay, so explain that. That'll probably be one paragraph. Again, that's an example. Ignore that. And the last page is a task analysis overview report. You can just ignore this because you've already answered those questions. So as you can see that your assignments is actually easier than you think it is. It's probably going to be 1.5 pages, 2 pages at the most. Unless you put a tiny font, it'll be one page. And that's it. There's really, the font requirement is just so long as I can read it. So I would say 10-point font. Somebody asked me that the other day. So don't go underneath, lower than that, because I don't want to bring in a microscope to read your fonts, but don't get it to be too big either. No 20-point fonts. We don't need that. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so put a cover on it to make sure that we know where it's coming from. And again, this is for your own individual presentation, so everybody has to create their own individual needs assessment. Okay, so that's due this week. It's due until midnight on Friday, so you have time to clean it up. Okay, if you have other questions around this, you can always ask us in class. All right, see you soon. Bye.